In this movie, we'll be talking about gradients. Now, writing gradient code by hand is actually incredibly difficult, especially given that support is a little bit shoddy, especially for older browsers. They need different vendor prefixed versions, and the entire thing gets very messy. So what we're going to be using is a gradient generator. If you want to follow along, open up gradients.html from your working files folder. If you do a search for gradients on Can I Use, you'll find that they're available in pretty much every browser aside from IE9, but a lot of them need the WebKit prefix. It's even more complicated than that. Some of the WebKit prefixes are actually a little bit different. That's why it's so useful to use a gradient generator. My favorite gradient generator is made by ColorZilla. It's free to use, so let's take a look. They give you all of these defaults, and you can set the orientation to horizontal or vertical, diagonal either way, or radial. They have some great presets, but those are generally just to get a good starting point. I like to build my own, so let's go ahead and do that and explore this gradient generator. First of all, I can move these color stops just by clicking and dragging them. I can do the same for opacity stops up here. For example, I can set the opacity stop to be 0, and now the gradient will fade out. All of these intermediary steps are automatically calculated for you, and the CSS is just given to you. All you have to do is just select all of it and put it into your document. You can do even crazier things as well. You can click on Hue Saturation and click and drag Hue, and that'll actually shift all of your colors for you. Same with Saturation and Lightness. It's especially wonderful to really think of this as an opportunity to play. For example, you can make a starting from black, 100% opaque, and going down to 0. But you can do more than that. You can click and drag these color and opacity stops however you'd like. In my case, I'm going to make this color stop be a red color, and this one be a yellow. Maybe I'll swap that to be orange. Now if I change this to be a radial gradient, you'll see I can create a little sun. I could put that, for example, on a blue background and have a simple, beautiful sun in the sky. So really, let your imagination run wild. Let's talk about how to actually take these gradients and put them into your document now. I'm going to take a nice basic gradient here. I'll make it go a little bit lighter so it's easier to see, and a little bit darker as well. Now all I need to do is copy all of this code and paste it in somewhere. Now I want to add this gradient to the entire HTML tag of my page. So all I have to do is put it right here, paste it in, and I'm going to fix my indentation a little bit by tabbing these out. The indentation isn't nearly as bad if you have word wrap turned off. You'll notice that it looks fairly good. On the very right-hand side, they give you comments showing what versions of different browsers they're supporting with different syntax. The W3C syntax is here at the bottom. This is the official one, but of course there are always browsers that don't support it currently. Lastly, we have a Microsoft filter. Now Microsoft filters are interesting. They give us a very, very basic version. In this case, they'll start with a color, they'll end with a color, and they won't put color stops in between. They're also limited in the gradient types. They can't do radial gradients, and they cannot do opacity. But if you want something that's going to work on Internet Explorer version 8 and below, Microsoft filters will give you something. And sometimes some gradient is better than a simple, complete fallback to a color. If I save that and refresh, sure enough, now I have a nice, beautiful gradient.